Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Diaz. Me and Will are back again for our Marvel Plus talk, and today me and Will are gonna do a ranking of the top 10 favorite X-Men films. Will, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very good. And I guess question is
hmm
the X-Men film series is one of your personal favorite superhero franchise, or is it the MCU? Question. Go ahead.
it's definitely the MCU.
Huh.
The X-Men movies for me are really polarizing. Like I was trying to come up with my top 10 and I realized that I only like love five of these movies.
Yes.
And then there's one that I like, two that I'm ambivalent about, and then the rest I don't like.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
there's two movies on my top 10 that I don't like.
Yeah. Same here. I have that as well.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and they're like my first two I saw in theaters when
Mm,
I was growing up. So, yes, I totally agree with you. Yeah, the X-Men film franchise has been, definitely the most, inconsistent
hmm
franchise. It's kind of like James Bond. Like you have the good Bonds, like Casino L and Skyfall,
hmm
and then you got, what, Spectre and Quantum of Solace, right? And it, it's like it's apples to oranges sometimes. Oh my god. Oh my god. It was I don't know you have this, but I had a difficult like placing my number ninth because I just don't like the later ones, but which we'll get into.
hmm
Um, I guess let's do kind of like an honoring or like dishonoring mention of the films. So, which films didn't uh got into
Didn't.
your list? Like,
Okay. Yeah, because there's 13,
yeah,
right? So three of them didn't make it. And they were the three most recent ones. Um, I didn't
okay,
see New Mutants, and it didn't look good.
hmm,
Same with Dark Phoenix. I saw Apocalypse, so I know definitively that it's not in the top 10 because it was bad.
oh
Um,
my god,
so yeah, those are the three that aren't listed.
okay, you are like exactly where I was at. I don't have the three recent X Men films.
Yeah.
Um, I almost put them like I was thinking I was like, okay, should I pick the ones that I saw first and like I connected, like it was my first experience with someone that I met before or multiple times, whatever, right?
hmm
And I mean, because X-Men Apocalypse, it was my first year seeing with my movie buff friend Miss Flamingo, and or pick Dark Phoenix, what I saw recently in FX,
hmm
and I thought it was better than X-Men Apocalypse. But then I just
Okay.
thought, yeah, and I was supposed to watch New Mutants, but like I was so busy this weekend. I was like, ugh, I don't want to do
hmm
that. So I just decided to feel all those three because X-Men Apocalypse was a disappointment follow up to Days of Future Past,
hmm
and then Dark Phoenix was, I mean, with the Disney um, Fox acceleration that was
hmm
going on, I I don't know how Dark Phoenix could have gone. And I mean, I I think the final product is not the worst, but like
Yeah.
it just I don't know it just it didn't it didn't land very quickly for me.
hmm I
So
my problem with it, and again, I haven't seen it, so I take this with a grain of salt. But
yeah,
like, it's they looked at The Last Stand, which didn't work, and they're like, what if we did it again, but with the versions of the characters that no one cares about?
yeah,
Um, and I
yeah.
don't understand what the pitch was there.
I don't know. Well, it was weird because Simon Kimber did X Men: The Last Stand, and then
Right. Again, it's yeah, it doesn't make sense.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know why they greenlit it.
I know.
I think they were just trying to like capitalize off Sophie Turner's like Game of Thrones success. Um,
Mm,
but didn't it come out around the same time that Game of Thrones ended? So,
yes, it
oops.
came out in 2019.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not the best time to
no,
capitalize on Game of Thrones.
no. Yeah, this is well, and then the film Dark Phoenix was also like capitalizing on Logan as well.
Right.
Like if you listen to how Kimber was trying to approach this film, he wanted it to be a more psychological and small film, which it's contradicting from what the film we have, you know?
Right. Yeah.
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 So yeah. So all right, let's get into our list. So that's our dishonoring mention of those three films. So you want to go first, Will? What's your number 10?
Sure. Yeah. My number 10 was X-Men The Last Stand.
Oh wow. It's actually my number 10 as well.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bad movie. Um, but like the original cast is there and they're good.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really have much to say about it.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
again, like I don't start having opinions until we get to like number 5.
That's okay. Intriguing. Okay. So
Yeah.
uh X-Men The Last Stand is my first X-Men film in theaters.
Mm,
And I, despite the trouble production it had, um, with obviously this had a different director instead of Bryan Singer. We have, of course, Brett Ratner, who's, obviously he's the worst director, uh, but I mean, he did at least a decent job of making the film, but I don't think he was the right director for this film.
mhm,
And before Brett did get this role, it was supposed to be Matthew Vaughn who was supposed to direct it, and obviously it was just the production was too rushed, and like he couldn't handle it. And despite him not getting all the credit, he did cast some of the actors in this film, particularly Juggernaut, Beast, and then I think Kitty Pryde. So at least the two casting he did was good, and then the one was just I don't know why, but
mhm,
um, for me, I mean, the biggest problem with this film was it's so like tonally uneven.
mhm.
I feel like it has moments of the Bryan Singer film, and then it has too much comedy that just feels off track what the humor was in the X-Men films series. So I feel like that's one of the downfalls of this film is that and then it does a lot of just like canonical sins of third film problems, like having too many characters, too many story points. That's like kind of like Spider-Man 3. You got too many villains and too many story points that you have to follow in the film. It's like you have the Dark Phoenix saga, and then you have the Cure, right? The outstanding X-Men Cure storyline from Joss Whedon, and then I don't know. I don't understand why they mixed that up. Like I don't.
Mhm.
I don't.
Yeah, it would have been better as two different movies.
Yeah, exactly. Um, like made the third film the Cure plot, and then the fourth. If they ever made a fourth actual X-Men film, make it into the Dark Phoenix saga, right? So, and then this film also did the worst thing ever, killing off characters you like. Um, you got Cyclops getting killed right away. You know,
Yeah,
I
he was my favorite, and then he was gone. Like,
for throughout the film. I mean, and this is I want to talk about our like the dishonorable mention films.
mhm,
I almost put Dark Phoenix as number 9 because at least Cyclops in the prequel films, Apocalypse, got more attention, but it wasn't enough. And I, I mean,
yeah,
I just, this was definitely crossing the line and like confirming that just did not care about Cyclops, and he was just shafted,
Mhm.
throughout the films, and just I just don't understand that.
Yeah, and I feel really bad for James Marsden because like he's a really good actor, and I just feel like they failed to capitalize on him.
Yeah. Um, and it's same thing with Professor X. I mean, his death was handled much better than Cyclops,
Hmm.
but I I don't know, like his death was also problematic. Well, I guess when we get into like the was it the post credit scene here, I never knew that did you knew it was a post credit scene for X-Men 3 um back in 2006.
No, I don't remember one.
Yeah. So obviously this one was, well, we have the first appearance of Mara McTaggart in this film franchise, and she meets this like was it kind of state patient, and then the patient turns around and you hear Professor X voice, and like somehow it transferred his mind to that person's body, and then we never get
Mm.
confirmation in Days of Future Past. So whatever. So yeah. And then I mean this another thing that's so low for this film. It starts the prana of the continuity of this film franchise,
Hmm.
which we'll get into the next film in my list of number 9. So, but anyway, let's get to the positive. Big positive for me that I put this at number 10 for me. I don't know if you did it, is because of Beast. I was so excited to see Beast in an X-Men film,
Hmm.
and his casting and makeup is amazing. I don't know what you thought
Yeah,
about Beast in this film, but go ahead. What do you thought about
yeah.
Kelsey Grammer as Beast?
No, I agree. I think he was a good choice. Um, he really captures the softer side of the character, I feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
He reminds me of animation series Beast.
Mm. Hmm.
Um, I I think he has that like intellectual um scientist, and this is where I get frustrated with this film. There's the ideas I like. I actually like the idea of Beast being like a what do you call it, um like a
A member of the cabinet. Like,
yeah, well, a sponsor for Mutant Affairs. I
okay,
I,
yeah,
I I
yeah.
I really like that, and I think that was actually a good way to kind of like see like an older X-Men member
Hmm.
um in his pride, and like he's helping out the mutant community. Like I actually like the idea. I think that was a good way to introduce Beast that way.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So and I think his funny moves was really neat in the film. Um, I think it was really great. I like the moment when his hands turned back to human. I think that was a great moment for Beast,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I think it really shows like he misses his human form, but at the same time he kind of like accepted who he is, and
Hmm.
I really like that. And of course that's the problem with the the other version we have with Nicholas Holt, where he's so much like Bruce Banner for some reason, and I just don't like it. And this like worst or like least favorite X-Men film got one character right, then the good films, it's just I don't understand that.
Hmm.
So, um, and then other good things about it, I think Hugh Jackman does a really great job as Wolverine.
Hmm.
I think the best thing about the worst X-Men films, that has Hugh Jackman, he doesn't phone in his performance. I
Yeah.
think that's been the best thing about him as an actor, and I think that this and his first solo film,
Hmm.
he's the reason I watch those.
Hmm.
Than like the other ones we mentioned, because that no one wants to be there. Where at least Hugh is trying to kind of like put effort to it, and I think
Hmm.
that's the thing I like about X Men 3: The Last Stand.
Yeah, you can tell that he cares about the character.
Yeah, yeah. exactly. And then I guess last positive, I like McNeil. Um, I really like we got more Brotherhood of Mutants in this
Hmm.
film, despite that's maybe doing too much in the film. But I appreciate the way we handle McNeil here as a villain. I was never bothered by having another McNeil film. I feel like it was just made sense what we're going to do with the film.
Hmm.
Um, I think it was very good, and I think Ian McKellen does a really good job as McNeil. Um,
Yeah.
um, favorite scene from him is when Pyro say if he had a chance to kill Charles Xavier. I like that McNeil say, "Look, I know you didn't like him, but Charles Xavier was the person that helped us control our powers, and like he wanted to bring the dream of mutant equality, and but of course, McNeil didn't agree with that, but like he, admire Xavier's effort of trying to, bring hope to the mutant community, like that. I like that speech that he
Hmm.
gave to Pryor. I think that was the moment where he really is McNeil and like he still respects Charles as a friend after his death.
Hmm.
I think that was handled well.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and then worst things. What do you think is the worst thing happened to this film, and that kind of plagued the film franchise in general?
I mean, they just tried to do too much, and the execution was poor. Like, which happened in a lot of other later movies too.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
I think the worst one is like uh accurate depiction of these characters, right?
Hmm.
Or it starts with that with Origins Wolverine, I think. Um, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really bad there, but
Ugh,
I don't know. Like, I was never satisfied with how Cyclops was portrayed in these movies,
no.
and then to have him killed off so early in this one really uh, emphasize that.
Yeah. Well, and it put a poor taste in my mouth
Hmm.
of the series. I mean, I, I just don't get it. Um, but yeah. Another thing I I think has been problem is like them adapting the Dark Phoenix saga. Um,
Hmm.
that's been I I think that's always that storyline needs to be better in a like a TV setting than a
Hmm.
movie because I just there's just way too many material to handle and
Yeah,
I,
I
I
mm. My problem with it was that in the movies, I never really um, cared about Jean that much,
yeah
and then all of a sudden she's like the focal point.
yeah um
Um,
I I like this original trilogy of Jean over the Sophie Turner one
oh, me
because
too. Yeah.
I the series did put effort to it. It was just the I guess I wasn't expecting like a looser base of Dark Phoenix. Like I wasn't expecting like the psychological like split personality of a Phoenix and like that. I never expected that.
Hmm.
That always felt weird for me when they did that, and then
Hmm.
but it kind of makes sense if you think about like other X-Men characters like Legion, right? Like you dealing with a psychological thing with that character. Like I don't know if they
Hmm.
were inspired by that, but I don't know. Like it just felt left out of field for the character of Jean Grey in this film.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, yeah, and then and then um, what else? That was the worst. The worst thing is about this was the inconsistency of music. I, what do you thought about the score of this film? I'm kind of curious.
I don't even remember it, honestly.
Yeah, that explains it. So, it's very good. I have listened to it. It's actually very good. I just wish they were consistent about it. And I mean, it's kind of funny how everyone complains about the MCU films, but the X-Men films does that as well. And so it's kind of weird that the series cannot even be consistent with their music.
Mhm.
So, but yeah. Okay. Anything else about X-Men 3: The Last Stand?
No, I'm good.
All right, I'm good because that was our 10. Okay, number 9. Let's start from you again. What's your number 9?
My number nine was X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Same here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Uh,
I don't like it's a bad movie. The characters are not uh like accurately portrayed, but there's still some cool action scenes in there, and Hugh Jackman's performance is good.
yeah,
So like there's enjoyable moments in it. But for the most part it's bad.
yeah. Oh man, I think I remember the kind of day I have when I had a chance to see that film.
Mhm,
Like my allergies were bad. It was a rainy day. I
mhm.
went to this new diner that was like, um, it was at Route 23, I think.
Okay.
When you picked me up and we went to the Ranch Fair, it was like in around there,
Okay.
one of those diners there. And then
Mhm.
I went with my parents, and like I remember specifically that. Yeah, I agree. This film was it's very bad. I don't like we made very inconsistent um just continuity that we knew before from X2. I did not like that.
Mhm.
Um, but at the same time, I think this film gets better because of the things afterwards, kind of like talking about, or like they fixed things about the origins Wolverine, like Deadpool. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, without this film, we couldn't get the Deadpool film, and like,
Yeah.
making, like, what I mean? And
Yeah. And I'm glad that we got that, but it doesn't fix how bad he is in this movie.
yeah.
Um,
Um, oh, and I thought you were gonna point out like the stupid like animated bullet they did in this film. It's brought back in Logan, and
mhm.
and this is the moment where I wanted to see Logan again, because when um Hugh Jackman and Logan say it, I was like, wait, is that animated bullet? And I was like, what? Oh my god, it's just too funny and sad at the same time in Logan. Um,
Mhm.
um, but there's great things about this. I like the casting. Like that's the best thing about this film.
Yeah.
We mentioned before, I think in our top 10 Marvel movies, because Lee Schreiber is in this film as Sabretooth, and he plays Kingpin, and I think he was a great actor to play Sabretooth. I love his chemistry with Hugh Jackman, and this is something they correct right compared to the first X-Men film of the
Mhm.
brother relationship that they have in the comics and the cartoons you saw.
Yeah.
And I just wish he came back for the trilogy of the Wolverine, and it's like he didn't. It's just weird.
Mhm.
I don't why. And I know a lot of people don't like talk about this as often, or like he has like a very weird career projection. He has is Taylor Kitsch, who played Gambit. I thought he was a good Gambit. Um, it, it's just weird how this X-Men films handle characters, and it's weird that we only got one Gambit appearance in an X-Men film, and it's
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah. That is weird.
Yeah, and we thought about him as Gambit. I
Yeah.
kind of
No,
curious.
I liked him too. And I'm hoping that when Marvel inevitably reboots the X-Men, that they use Gambit.
Yeah.
Um,
Um.
yeah, because he's got cool powers and yeah.
Yeah. He's my personal favorite X-Men character. So
Yeah,
I
he's one of my favorites.
yeah. I just like him. Just he's a great character, and I like his relationship with Rogue, which we never got in this series, and
Mhm.
um. But it's not here or there. And then of course Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Um. The opening, I think it it was very good. I think he really got the Deadpool humor and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, yes, his mouth being so was kind of weird. I don't understand that.
Hmm.
Um, um, but yeah, and then I think that's really it for positives, right?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, the other casts are good. I mean, I like the Blob. Um, I think this film just does everything so predictable. And that's the
Hmm.
problem. Like, that Stryker is tricking Wolverine into the program. The whole like Silver Fox thing was kind of predictable, and I was just like, why should I care?
Hmm.
And you mentioned action scenes. I mean, some of the action scenes are good.
Hmm.
This film, I noticed this, but I don't know if you noticed this. The CGI is probably the worst thing I've seen. In
Yeah. Yeah.
it, I mean, the
It's
claws.
pretty bad.
Oh my god! Like I can't believe that this film was like what $150 million, and it didn't feel like that. This felt
Hmm.
very cheap in some areas. Ugh. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and such a such a weird trilogy, the Wolverine. Like,
Yeah. I mean, they really feel like it's just three standalone movies about the same character.
yeah, it's
Um,
very weird.
yeah.
Oh my god! But I mean, luckily it gets better and better, so that's good.
True. Yeah. Very true.
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, and I don't know. I kind of felt bad for the director that did this, Kevin Hood. I think there was potential. I like his ideas more. I think what he was trying to do, like with the psychological, like soldier thing, like PST, like
Hmm.
it's all well and done. But then obviously this was supposed to be a summer blockbuster, and I mean, this was the year after Dark Knight, so I don't know why Fox just, you know, they this also had a lot of production problem. Like,
Hmm.
um, Richard Donner, the late great Richard Donner, had to be in this film. Like, you see his name here after so many years, because his wife produced these films. His name is here
Hmm.
because he had to calm the attentions between the studio head and the director. So that tells you much about how much this film was just so over the place and just
Hmm.
just didn't came together, unfortunately. And you mentioned Game of Thrones. Like, do you notice that one of the Game of Thrones showrunners wrote this as well? Um,
Yeah. Which one was it? Um,
David, I think his name, David.
Benioff.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's one of the screenwriters for this
Yeah.
film. Very weird.
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So it's not a good future for that show. Anyway, anything else for X-Men Origins Wolverine? I think that's really it. Um,
Yeah. I think that's it for me.
okay, all right. So okay, let's. Do you want me to start for number eight?
Yeah. Yeah. You can go first.
Okay, so let's do that. So my number eight is the first X-Men film.
Okay.
Um, what do you have for number eight?
I have the Wolverine.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see. Okay. Yeah, so the first X-Men film, I think it's a good film.
Hmm.
Um, it it does a good job of like introducing the film universe of the X-Men for the first time.
Hmm.
I think the casting overall was good for certain characters. Um, as always, when you're adapting the comic books, some creative decision is kind of weird. Um, like the Sabretooth thing is like he's there, but we don't get like a clear like foreshadow or like reference to is he like the brother of Wolverine, and
Hmm.
like was he part of the Weapon X program? Like stuff like that. Is this the first film out of a 20-year, well, 21-year franchise starter? It's it's gonna be tough. I think Brian Singer, who we're I'm not gonna give him credit because he's the worst person. Uh, but his team and the writers done a really good job of bringing these characters to life.
Mhm.
Um, but at the same time, it's too small. It's kind of like a TV pilot. Like it, I don't know. Some reason Brian Singer, he's not really good at action. Like
Mhm.
you see this in Superman Returns. X-Men Apocalypse looks
Yeah.
so much like a TV thing.
Mhm.
In a lot of areas. But one thing he does right is the dramatic um performances and just the the themes of prejudice and discrimination and what you respect the X-Men as a team and their themes they have is
Mhm.
well executed in this film and throughout X2. So that's what I like about this film. And the Magneto plot, um it's fascinating. I like it, but it's way undercooked. And like
Mhm.
it's supposed to be more important as the film doesn't do that. So it's really weird. And I feel like it's one of the most underwhelming plot villains I've seen in a while, or like compared to other superhero films with their villain plots. But
Mhm.
I think Ian McKellen's performance as Magneto is great in this film, and I think he's the reason that I like about this film the most is that his
Yeah.
whole thing. Um, and last thing before I'll get to hear your little mini thoughts on the first X-Men film. The opening of the Holocaust is way like I wasn't expecting that, and I think is a good way to tell that this movie was going to be a serious film.
Mhm.
And after the Batman and Robin and Steel and the campy films of the 90s, so
Mhm.
good way to start a this is 2000, so a good way to start your mid 2000 with a bam with a serious opening of the Holocaust. So anyway, Will, what's your thoughts on this first X-Men film?
Yeah, I mean, I have it ranked higher.
Oh,
Um,
really? Okay.
yeah, not much higher,
Oh, okay.
but we're getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it. It's it's yeah, it's not one of the ones that I love, but I like it.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's a good movie. I think it really set the groundwork, not just for the X-Men franchise, but it was the first of like, the
Superhero.
superhero movies that like
Yeah.
kind of took themselves seriously.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Question. Did it bother you about the costumes being different? Um,
um, I don't know. I feel like that's really more like a product of the times. Because like while I just said that they took themselves more seriously, I think there's
yeah.
still a hesitancy to like go all in on like a comic book aesthetic for something,
Hmm. Right.
um, to try to avoid looking like some campy, like low budget thing from like
Mm,
the 70s, like
that's true.
um,
Um,
so like while I prefer, let's say like first class's uniforms,
yes.
I'm fine with what they went with.
Okay. Um, I I don't have a problem with that. I always thought the X-Men having like a distinct uniform is
Hmm.
really great.
Yeah.
And um like I guess I didn't mention X-Men 3 with the costumes. I like the the idea of having black suits and then with color pattern like like Kitty Pryde had the pink in
Hmm.
her black suit. I don't know if you noticed that. I know
Yeah.
that's silly, but like I mean it's kind of cool touch. I mean, you do see that with Iceman with the white stripes in his black suit.
Hmm.
and then Wolverine, of course, has the brown like
Mhm.
long X symbol, and like I mean, I always thought these black suits. I never have a problem with them. Like
Yeah, like they look good. I think I would have preferred
yeah,
yeah, something with a little more color.
but yeah. Well, and the reason I don't have like this weird like people complaining about they're not wearing their comic book costumes. Like this is way better than some of the MCU things. Like I didn't mention this in X-Men 3, but like the Jean Grey costume she wears is way better than the Scarlet Witch one in her early appearance.
Oh, okay. I
Well, because she's like the Scarlet Witch one has the like open cleavage, and Jean doesn't have that. That's like my argument with that. Like I don't know,
are you
like I'm not talking about the WandaVision suit. I'm talking about her prior to WandaVision. Like
okay? I in my head, the only one I'm picturing is her outfit from Age of Ultron, which was just like normal clothes. So
yeah.
I'm trying to
Oh,
remember what
the
her
Civil
outfit
War
looked.
one from
Okay, yeah.
Civil War to Endgame. That's the one I'm talking about. Like,
Yeah, I think I can agree with you on that.
yeah, because like at least these costumes
Yeah.
they look like their character counterpart. Like Wolverine doesn't need a mask, Like I was fine with
Mhm.
that. And then Cyclops looks like Cyclops. That's like um yeah. So and then the villains design was I think I preferred the villain design over the superior design. Like I think Toad looks great in this film than his comic book like designs. I don't know
Mhm.
if you have that opinion. I really like Mike Neal's costume. I think that's a really good like contemporary look for Mike Neal. Like at least they got the helmet right.
Mhm.
And then Mystique, I mean, I think it works with Rebecca Remain. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Um, but and then Saber Two looks very good. I think he looks like a beast, and like I think it's all well done. I think the makeup of those like mutants really work in this film. So
Mhm.
yeah. Um, okay. So anything else for the first X-Men film? We'll get into your number 8.
Uh, no, I think that's it's all good.
Okay. So your number 8 is the Wolverine. So
Yeah.
okay. So take us why you chose that for number 8. I'm curious.
Yeah. I mean, with this one, we've moved out of the movies that I don't like. Um,
Okay.
but I don't. There's nothing about this movie that like stands out to me.
Mhm.
It is kind of forgettable.
Wow.
Um, yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. Like it, there was nothing bad about it, so I put it higher than um
Then
the other movies.
yeah, the other movies. I guess the way you did that, I think I appreciate I appreciate the film more after Logan, and
Mm,
like I took notice of what Mango was trying to do. Um, I agree with some of the consents that the third act is kind of off of the
mhm,
film. It is. I feel
mhm,
like because you got the first two acts being this very small and like personal hero's journey of like redemption, right?
mhm,
And then and discovering, you know, with Wolverine trying to like rediscover his like purpose and like his path as a like soldier, and then like it connects to every character like Miracle and her journey to discover who she is, and like and like what's her path, and it's all fascinating like thematical themes in the
mhm,
film. But then you got this third act that turns into like a superhero theme, and then it's like, uh, um, I don't have that problem. I think it doesn't do the problem where it's like over bloated action like Man of Steel or it's like a twist that is no one like has agreed or like disagree, like the Mandarin twist in Nightmare 3. Like this,
Hmm.
like I think the third act works if you just like kind of understand what was going on. But then there's some parts that I like how can he get his bone claws like heal like that? And
Yeah.
then it's just it's yeah, like yeah, the third act is very like problematic as a superhero film, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, so I see why you put it number 8. Um, do you read the Wolverine storyline? The Japan one?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I've heard good things.
Yeah. Just a couple things that's different. Like the Miracle and Wolverine relationship was like in the comics and the cartoons, it's very like telling that they know each other before.
Mhm.
But in this film, it's more like it's a first time for them to meet up. So so there's the difference there. Okay. And what's your positive about this film besides Hugh Jackman and you know like um
Yeah. I really liked the setting.
yes.
Yeah.
um
No, I thought it was nice. It was like a nice change of pace from other superhero movies.
yeah. I like that we didn't have too many mutants.
Hmm. Yeah, it felt like a more personal story,
Yeah. um
which we hadn't gotten yet.
yeah, for Wolverine.
Hmm.
And I was happy we didn't have like any like well-known X-Men characters that you know could be botch as always.
Hmm.
So I felt like that was a good thing. But yeah. Okay. And the villains. What's your opinion on the villains? Uh,
Um, Again, kind of they're okay.
I like the grandfather. I think he has a very um like fascinating point of view, and
Mhm.
I can understand where he's coming from. His like he has this very grand like master manipulation plan,
Mhm.
what he's doing with his family, and that's where it kind of goes to like the superhero like trope. But
Mhm.
I think it is handled well because like at least Wolverine is questioning what is going on, at least
Mhm. Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
um I, I think the villain plot is well thought out. It's just like if you accept the whole like mech suit samurai thing,
Mhm.
it's where you can draw the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like the scene where Logan saves the grandfather.
Yes. Yeah. Another thing, great opening for a film.
Hmm. Yeah.
I yeah. Uh, yeah. These films have really great openings, and you realize that first the first film and then this
Hmm.
and X-Men Origins Wolverine with the like
Yeah.
I forgot to
The
mention that.
montage. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was good.
yeah, that was really good. Yeah, I really like the this is the Nikisazi bombing, right?
The Nagasaki.
Yeah, Nagasaki bombing. Really thrilling opening
Hmm.
to start on, and it really sets up the themes and like the villain's like motivation. If you pay attention to the film, like it's like James Mangold is a great director. He really has command of this film and much better than Origins Wolverine. Like there's just things that I didn't pick up that made sense towards the end.
Hmm.
And so I think Mango does a really good job of that. And something that I feel like Man of Steel got wrong was getting into the character's head. And I think Mango does a good job of giving us information on what's going on with Logan's mind in this film.
Hmm.
And, because he doesn't talk too much and he's a very like anti-hero, like Clint Eastwood type of character. And I think Mango does that very well. And especially entry into Logan, I think he continued that effort, which I like. So, anything else about the Wolverine? Um,
No, that's it for me.
oh, okay. Well, let's go into number seven. You want to go? Yeah, go for your number seven.
Whoa, okay. Um, you're not gonna like this one. Um,
Right. What's number seven?
number 7 is X-Men: Days of Future Past.
Whoa, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I know you really like that movie.
Oh wow.
Um,
No, I understand. I completely understand. I know there's some problems with that film. But okay, let's go ahead. Okay. Wow, this is cool. I love this. So okay, so it's number seven. Okay, so um, okay, explain. I'm curious.
yeah, I we talked about this a bit when we talked about First Class.
Mhm.
But like right off the bat, I was disappointed that we weren't getting like a proper First Class sequel, and we were just like right away shoehorning in the original
Yes.
like cast and
Hmm.
series. I'm not a fan of like time travel as a story element.
Mm, yeah.
Like I'm fine with it if like the story has time travel from the very beginning. Like I love Back to the Future, but when it's like when you're several movies in and then you throw time travel in, I just don't think it's going to be done well. Um, and it feels like gimmicky.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but I don't like. There's nothing that I like. Again, this is like the section of the movies where like I don't hate them, I just
Mm,
don't love them. Um, like it's fine
yeah. Um,
because it is like a well-made movie. The performances are good. I think um, I don't know, like the Sentinels are cool.
right.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I just it feels like they jumped the shark too soon, like right after they had just had a good thing going with First Class.
First class. Okay, so you mentioned jumping the shark.
Uh,
I think if Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix were either good films, at least decent films, right? I couldn't say that this was a good follow up, like a good, like clean slate for a franchise like X Men.
mhm.
Um, I will say that I feel like this was maybe supposed to be like a series finale, like a good final farewell for the whole X Men franchise. Really, I feel
Yeah,
like because because now seeing X Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, I have to be honest with you, they had nothing to say about Xavier Magneto's relationship or like them as characters at all in those films.
mhm.
And I do agree with Matt V. Vaughn because he has slowly been talking about what was his original plans. I do agree with his plans of like setting up Days of Future Past as like a third horror film, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but there was some weird things that he was talking about that was kind of like off-putting for me. Like he was supposed to recast Logan, which that throws me off because that throws off the whole continuity. Like you had Hugh Jackman in First Class. I don't get that.
yeah,
Um, I will say I agree. There were certain things I didn't like that we did in this film with X Men First Class. Like I didn't like that we cut off like half of the characters from First Class.
Mhm.
We did mention that in the X-Men First Class podcast. Um, and and then of course in the top 10 Marvel movies podcast. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I mean, and the time travel thing. I will say, um, I mentioned in X-Men 3 about the dead parts, or Xavier transferring to the body. My
Mhm.
problem with the film is that we're not we're not giving enough time to answer maybe some questions that I have questions about,
Mhm.
like how did Mystique get out of her like captivity in the original timeline? Like how did Xavier got out of his like funk in the
Mhm.
70s? And
Mhm.
like, and then the how did Xavier, came back from the dead, from X-Men 3, like those are
Yeah.
the sort of questions I will say that I will give it to you that the time travel thing is a little fancy. Uh, uh, Principle, or I can say the word questionable. Let me say that.
Mhm.
Or is really unanswered, and like we don't spend time with that. I will say with the time travel thing, I think they do at least a good job of setting up the rules and making the time travel thing as a very like what is it, like hurrying time clock, like a time doom clock to
Yeah.
like because that's something that I didn't like about Avengers Endgame, is that there it was very much a time travel gimmick, and like there were like,
Yeah. I didn't like it in game either.
yeah, and we're here.
Like,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go. Sorry.
sorry. For Endgame, if you view it as like the end of the MCU, I'm okay with it. Um, but it sets up a lot of problems going forward,
Yes. Um.
that I don't like. Um,
Yep.
but that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Whole list discussions, but well, I don't know. You have this like at least the MCU is addressing those things. Like we got
are
Loki.
they though? There's no time travel.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they're
Like they
doing most.
invented time travel, and then they were like, "Well, we're never using that again."
Yeah, that's
Uh,
true.
which like King's coming up, so maybe they will. But and then it felt
Yeah,
really like if you write yourself into a corner, you use time travel to fix it.
yeah.
Like,
I guess my thing is I want to know the difference between time travel and multiverse travel. Like I feel like they're mixing them up.
no, I think the way that they do time travel makes sense in the MCU. Um,
Okay.
it is related to multiverse travel, the way they do it, but
Yeah.
it's still like I don't know. Time travel is messy, especially if it's like
Yeah. Not.
not the primary focus of your thing.
Yeah. I agree. Um. Yeah. Okay. Well, I getting off from the time travel discussion.
Mhm.
Because we're gonna discuss that more. If we get to my number one.
Mhm.
But what else you didn't like about this film, or like just I
I mean, it really is just like the missed potential of the prequel series.
mm,
Um,
yeah,
I because X-Men First Class was so good, and then they just threw it all away to do this movie. Um,
yeah,
yeah,
um, yeah, yeah. I I just wish they just avoided the MCU and just focus on their thing and how like what was their most successful films, and like what they can do. Like, what could they do best with their films?
mhm.
Because that's another problem with these newer films, that they were trying to compete with the MCU, and that was kind of like their downfall. Like
Mhm.
you look at X-Men Apocalypse, it was like kind of like a Age of Ultron, or like this very destructive film like the MCU has, but like that was never the focal point of the MCU films. It was always, their, formula. It was like, okay, we're gonna have a big, cinematic fight or battle, or, destruction,
Hmm.
and it never felt out of place of their films. Where X-Men Apocalypse was like just going through the motions, and then when they did their destruction of, action and all that was just so like, ugh,
Hmm.
weightless.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, I see why. At least I give them credit. Like, at least they're trying to be ambitious. That's the thing I like about X-Men Days of Future Past. It's like they're trying to be ambitious. And you mentioned First Class throwing things out the window.
Hmm.
I like the continual arcs from our main characters from First Class, and I think it made sense naturally. Like Magneto's arc in X Men Days of Future Past is really great, and like he's very consistent. And I like Mystique in X Men Days of Future Past. Before we don't like her in Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. Blah blah blah. Um, I think this film actually justify the whole Mystique, being naked and like her being who she is in the original trilogy. And then of course it's completely pointless after Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. So it's that. Oh,
Hmm.
anyway. So anything else from X-Men Days of Future Past?
Nah, that's it. What was your
Okay,
number seven?
cool. I have another one. I don't know if you have this high in your list. I have Deadpool 2 as number 7.
I do have it high on my list.
Okay, so
Okay.
we're in the same page here. So yeah, this is my like films. This is not my like worst films.
Hmm.
I actually had Deadpool 2 as number 5 um before, but
Hmm.
then I I rewatched Deadpool 2 a couple of times, and then I finally had a chance to watch the first film. I will
Hmm.
say I think Deadpool 2 is not as good as the first film.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were I you mentioned, like, I think this and the X-Men Days of Future Past, I can call it, I don't agree with some of the creative decisions that the team did with these films.
Hmm.
Um, big one for me was the Vanessa killing off in this
Yeah.
film.
It's another time travel thing.
Um,
I man, it
oh
never
my,
goes well.
yeah. Well, I mean, well, okay,
Okay.
maybe,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. But
yeah. I mean,
yeah, this is my biggest problem with Deadpool 2 is the time travel again.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I
Like it works for Cable, but then like it creates problems and then yeah, so they kill Vanessa for no reason and then they bring her back
yeah.
because
Um,
time travel.
yeah, that's true. It's tough because you got Deadpool. This like it's such a comedy film, like these films, and like I I don't know, like and my problem is also the film like has some like the comedy doesn't hit as well as the first film.
I
S-
agree.
That's where I put this very low. It's like there's some jokes I like, but then there's some that I'm like, ugh, that I just don't care, and you can take it or leave it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't have a problem with the triumph thing. I just accept that this is a comedy and they're gonna just do whatever they want. As
Hmm.
Deadpool, that's what he did. I mean, we couldn't get the awesome post-credit scene of Deadpool going into Origins Wolverine, kill him. The Soul Deadpool, like I want that.
It's funny. I don't know if we need it. Like
I need it because I want to
I
forget about that.
well, you could forget about it by just not mentioning it. I don't
uh,
know.
I don't know.
It's fine. It
Yeah,
was a very Deadpool joke, so it's
yeah, yeah. Well, and, I guess I think my reason before I changed it to 7, like the reason I put it number 5 is that I like they went wackier with its premise than the first
mhm.
film. But then I liked the first film because it was more structure and it felt like more a film, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I Deadpool 2. I had a lot of fun watching Deadpool 2. Um,
Yeah.
but Deadpool the original just feels more cohesive.
Yeah,
Uh, and so I think it's a better movie overall.
yeah. Um, you mentioned Cable.
Mhm.
I really dug the casting of
Yeah,
Deadpool 2.
yeah,
Um, oh my God, I love uh Josh Brolin, right? Oh my God,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I almost thought he was James Brolin, his father. Um, I thought he was really good. I think he was a good casting for Cable. Um, I do like the running gag with Deadpool of like he has some like racial like discrimination and like with the with the black was it black Tom Cassie thing like
Mhm.
it was a funny gag, one of my favorite running gags of a comedy film. And then Sassy Beats as Domino, I think she
Yeah,
was really
she's
great.
great. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh my God, I think they did a really good job of depicting what do you call it, like luck powers, like
yeah, her luck powers. Yeah, that was done really well. Um,
yeah,
which like that's hard to do. And they
yeah.
made it a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And I like how it like goes with her arc. Like, oh, I came here to this ex's house and like, um, oh, this is my journey. This is the house that I was in. I was tortured, like all that. Like it was so cool and it was well done. Um,
Mhm.
um, what else like? I really appreciate we did more Colossus. Um, that's another thing.
Mhm.
I like Colossus as an X-Men character, and I really enjoy that these films do so good with this character. I love he's comic book accurate and like
Mhm.
he has personality, and I love his steel is just straight out of the comics, and I just love his relationship with Deadpool. It's just so funny.
Mhm.
Oh my God. And
Um,
oh
yeah.
yeah. Wait, what are you gonna say? I'm kind of curious.
I I love Juggernaut
Oh
in this
my God.
movie.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it just oh, it's great. And then also I forget his name, but
Uh,
the kid
was it
who I know
Russell?
from yeah Russell, just the actors from Hunt for the Wilder People, the Taika Waititi movie.
Yeah. He's
Um,
in here.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. He's good too. Uh, I, what else? I dug the X-Men cameo we got from the young class.
hmm
That was very cool. Um, yeah. I mean, oh, one of the best opening credits. I do dug the Celine, like
Yeah, yeah,
it was like a James Bond opening, and
uh-huh.
like, and then
Very good.
oh my God, that was so funny.
Um,
Yeah.
oh, the Juggernaut song is
Oh,
great.
oh my God, yes. That it totally pumped you up when he like you knew if you knew you were paying attention who's like the buddy that like Russell was like being friends with, and then oh my God, that was so
hmm
just wonderful. Um, yeah, and I guess last thing to mention to like wrap things up with Deadpool 2. I think David Leitch, the director of this
hmm
film, unfortunately this had a director change.
hmm
I was very sad that Tim Miller didn't return,
Yeah.
and I I actually kind of prefer his plans, and like I just wish we had the like a little more ambitious sequel, but I think this was a acceptable sequel, I would say. Uh that doesn't do the traditional X-Men thing of like crossing the line for me.
hmm
So at least this was adorable and it gave us enough like expansion in the universe. Uh I will say the action is okay, nothing spectacular in this film. I just kind of wish we had maybe a different director that handled Deadpool 2 more
hmm
like effectively. I just kind of wish we had, I don't know, like maybe Taika Waititi or Joe Carnish or something in that level to maybe amp up, like combine the humor and action well, then this film kind of did, unfortunately for me, because
Mhm.
it just I don't know, like it just didn't have that wow factor as the first one had. Any more thoughts for Deadpool 2? Or from you, Will?
Yeah, that's it for now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's in your list. Okay, so should I go for number six? Because you did
Sure,
seven.
yeah.
Okay, so you had the Wolverine at number eight. I have mine
Mhm.
at number six.
Okay.
So, not to make it too long, I think it's definitely the most thought thought provoking superhero film I've seen. That was very subtle, or I mean, subtle for me, maybe. Um, that did a very good job of expanding the Wolverine character, getting him back to the basics, and like, like, like I kind of wish this is what we should do with Man of Steel, like Superman as a character,
Mhm.
to ground him and like he felt vulnerable. This is how you do it, and I think the Wolverine does that very well, and Logan as well. Um, as we discussed, the things that takes down this film to number six is because I don't mind the third act, but I do have to mention that the third act is too unmemorable and it's just going too far in the superhero trope. Um, and the ending, this is good that I'm mentioning this. I wish they put the Wolverine costume alternate scene to make this film more memorable, because they deleted that and we have this one final shot of them in the plane, and it felt very like it didn't have like a memorable like send off, and I wish they kept that
Mhm.
alternate scene. Because I mean, I don't know if you've seen the deleted scene of the costume, but
Yeah,
it looked great. I
it
mean,
did.
oh my god, I wish they kept that, and they didn't. um, but Mango made a statement about that, and it made sense. Like it didn't make sense Wolverine being like a consumer like IP. Like that's not who he is as a character
Mhm.
in these film series, and I understand that. So um, it's one of those wistful dreams of like seeing the accurate Wolverine costume finally,
Mhm.
But it had to make sense with this character, and I understand we didn't get that for this film. Um, yeah. So and yeah, and then I enjoyed the soundtrack of this as
Mhm.
well. It's the same composer for Logan, and he does a really good job of making the score being very Japanese, and like I really dug. Yeah, really dug that.
Mhm.
Uh, Two favorite soundtrack sections of it. I really enjoyed the finale. It was really good, and then the end credit scene. I really love the end credit scene music. It's very memorable. I highly recommend listening to the soundtrack.
All right.
Um, yeah. So yeah. Any thoughts you want to mention with the Wolverine? Um,
Yeah, it's a fine movie.
yes, exactly. It's a fine movie.
All
Oh, I love that response, Will. Oh
right.
God, I got I got joy. Oh God. Okay, let's get into your six. What's your six? I'm curious.
Yeah. Mine is another one that we've already talked about, but it's the first X-Men.
Okay, yes. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
six. Makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's a good like starting point. Um,
Hmm. Good
yeah,
starting
there
point.
there are like some memorable parts.
Mm.
I like the I forget what the like actual name was, but like basically the mutant like registration, like
Act.
yeah.
Um,
That was a good plot. I liked just like the politics of the movie. Like it did a really good job of like the X-Men as surrogates for marginalized groups,
Yes.
which is very much like the spirit of the original comics, and just like a highlight of the X-Men in general is their like ability to be stand-ins for the like social issues of the day.
Yeah, I agree. Oh God. You mentioned politics. I like how they use Senator Kelly. He's
Mhm.
great as a character.
Yeah,
Um,
that scene where he turns into water is still really
yeah.
disturbing.
Oh my God.
Holds up. It's
Yeah.
really gross.
Oh my God. Yeah. The first two are so like mature. Like,
Mhm.
you got Mystique, roofing a security guard, and like, oh my God. And then like, and how like Logan gets stabbed with Death Strike is
Mhm.
like brutal. And then this first film, you see like McNeil, like in the train, he like calls Wolverine, and like he like almost like trying to separate the claws. Like,
Mhm.
oh my God, it's just oh my God. And then the towards the end, you see Rogue sword being Wolverine again, and like you see the cuts grow
Mhm.
back, and it's like whoa. I never expect that. It's just uh crazy. Yeah, it's almost like a horror film in one
Yeah,
second.
there's a lot of body horror. Like,
Mm, yes.
yeah, I really that scene where the senator transforms, like it's burned into my brain because I saw it when I was so young and it just like was so disturbing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um. Well, Toad eating a bird that stuck in my mind, and then I love Kelly's response. Ugh.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Oh God. It's pretty funny. Like I mentioned Hugh Jackman. I love his remarks when Xavier is introducing the X-Men, and he does this like storm, right? And then he goes to Xavier, what do they call you? Wheels? And that's
Mhm.
such a funny mark. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, this film is yeah, there's things I love about. We haven't mentioned the production design. Like I don't know if you have this opinion, but the films like X Mansion and the X Jet and like
Mhm.
the Cerebral is my definitive like vision of the X-Men stuff. I
Yeah, I really liked the mansion especially.
Yeah, one of the best. And also I like the idea from this film. It's actually a school. That's
Hmm.
something that it was weird about in the cartoon. Well, the '90s cartoon, because
Yeah.
Revolution did a better job of that. But like, um, I appreciate it. It was like an actual functional school. Uh, than in the comics or in the '90s show. I was like, is this supposed to be school or?
Yeah, no, I really liked the school element as well,
Yeah. Oh my God. Um,
which I hope they keep when Marvel reboots it.
yes. Um, cause I,
And then you
cause
could have like a Disney Plus show that's like just like the students.
oh yes, like we can do like like every new episode with focusing on these other mutants during like the
Hmm.
background and like just
Yeah,
oh
build
my
up
God.
like the X-Men that might not get like the like they wouldn't normally get like the focus in a movie.
Yes,
It'd be good.
I 100 agree with that. Oh my God, they should do that. Um, yeah. Oh my God, it's very good. It's good that you have the first film and six because I want to talk about the other casting because we mentioned the best. What's your um thoughts on Storm, Halle Berry? Like, I
Oh,
mean,
I like her. I don't have a
okay,
problem with her. Do you not like her as Storm?
no, I don't have a problem with her.
Okay.
I I always feel bad for both actresses because my problem is they don't give enough. Like I, it's weird.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like very quickly, they
Mhm.
don't give her enough development, but then at the same time they don't portray her as the comic book version that I know and that I like. You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
like I, it's like it's weird. Like she doesn't have. Well, I mean, Halle Berry doesn't do the African accent past this film, and
Mhm.
where I like the new actress, accent, Alex Ship. I'm not sure her first name.
Mhm.
I think she's probably the perfect storm in the wrong movies, and she
Mhm.
nails the African accent. It's just, um, yeah. So yeah, yeah. I never had this like hate train on Halle Berry. I think she's a fine actress. Just like she is like it's weirdly she's put in like in these very like she's in the most popular films, like these successful films, and then she's really the only black actress that won an Academy Award, and like all this, and like just, and then she's in like the worst films and ever with Catwoman and X-Men 3 is it's just so weird. It's just
Yeah.
I feel bad for
No,
her son.
it's I've always liked Halle Berry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um Um, I think her best performance is in X2. I feel like that film does a really good job with
Mm.
Storm there.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, yeah. Um, anything else you want to go? Anything else for the first X-Men film?
No, I think we covered it earlier.
Okay. All right. So now we're getting into our top five. So
Mhm.
I'm very excited for this. So Will, you you're gonna go. You're next. So
Want me to
what's
go
your number
first?
five? Yeah.
Okay.
What's number
This is
five?
when we start getting into movies that I like love. So I'm going X2
Oh
for number
wow.
5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just give you a heads up. X2 is my number four.
Okay.
So okay.
All
So
right. Um, yeah. I really like this movie. I thought it like took off from where the first X-Men started and then just did everything better.
mhm.
Um, yeah. And Nightcrawler is um, probably my favorite X-Men. So I really love him in this movie.
Yes.
He's got cool powers. The special effects for his powers look cool. Um, yeah, I love Nightcrawler. Uh,
I
um,
love Nightcrawler too. He's my favorite one as well.
um,
Uh,
yeah, and then um, just the plot
Striker.
with Stryker. Yeah, it was really interesting. Um, I love like Iceman's plot in this movie.
Yes, it's
Um,
very good.
yeah, I'm I'm looking forward to if they do Iceman in the MCU, just like a similar plot. Since the character
Mm,
is gay in the comics now, right?
yes,
Yeah.
I
So
hopefully they
I
didn't
think that would,
yeah reckon
yeah,
reckon that or at all. Um,
yeah. Hopefully they like use that like in the new adaptation because I think that's a really good parallel. Like I think the X-Men as like a parallel for LGBTQ civil rights works really well nowadays, which like they did do in these movies.
yes.
And like that's what it feels like here, but they could make it more
Um,
explicit now.
yeah. Yeah, they did that with I forgot to mention the character was the Warhead that's in the Deadpool films.
Yeah.
She's like the first like you know LGBT character, and like really the first for the X-Men films, because we
Hmm.
have, a couple of those, like North Star, right?
Hmm.
Those were like the first gay couple that was like engaged in the comics, So yeah, no, I agree with you. We should, like slowly build into that because it's such an important thing in X-Men.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I agree with you about Stryker. I think Stryker is a top three X-Men film villain that I like.
Hmm.
Of course, gets worse in the later films, but whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
But,
yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
my
you
god.
gotta love Brian Cox.
Yes.
So
Oh my
yeah.
god. He's so great. Oh my god. And oh god, he's so funny in Rushmore. He's great in that.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then
Love that movie.
oh
Have
my
you been
god.
watching Succession? Because he's
Oh
phenomenal.
no. I know I heard
Okay.
great things. I need to get
Yeah.
into that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Cox is great, and I think this film did a really good job of just fixing like things that was like not good from the first film. Like the effects were better this time around. Um, the villain plot was more developed, more, and it was actually more serious, and like it was more important in the plot than the Magneto one. Um, and yeah, and I like how we actually juggle the characters. Um, that's something that's been like a big problem with the X-Men films is them juggling all these various characters. And this First Class, and then the first X-Men film and Days of Future Past, and what other good films of X-Men has done a really good job of juggling characters,
Mhm.
and give them the time, the screen time. Well, except for a few like Cyclops in this film.
Mhm.
So I think this film did a really good job of juggling characters, as we mentioned in our top 10 Marvel podcast. It's just it, this film just does an amazing job, and this has one of the best openings as well. I with Nightcrawler attacking the Secret Service and the White House,
Mhm.
and it's so iconic. And John Ottman's music, it's really awesome. I think it's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say for X2?
No, that's it for now.
Okay. So number five is Deadpool for me.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. So yeah, it's kind of interesting for me when I'm not the huge I'm not a huge Deadpool fan.
Hmm.
Like I never knew this character. I didn't see the first film in theater, so
Okay.
I just see the first film in FX, after like Deadpool 2 came out. So
All right. So you saw like the TV edit of Deadpool?
Deadpool, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but FX did allow like the cursing weren't still there. Like they just cut out like they trim a little bit of like the sex scenes and all that.
And the gore probably.
Yeah. Um.
Scene in the bathhouse is probably.
Ooh.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Um. I think. But I think what makes the first Deadpool work and the sequel. Let me add that too, because this is definitely the most X-Men we gonna get before the MCU. I feel like they nail like these films. The first Deadpool does a really good job of. Well, it's one of the best origin films. I want to say
Hmm.
it does a really good job of taking this character and grounded him where I can relate to him, and
Hmm.
like and feel for this character. Um, I like how we expand some of the X-Men stuff that we never talked about, and we do it in this film. I like how some people do explore the mutants and their powers as weapons, and
Hmm.
we see that here with Ajax as the villain. Um, I think this is probably the best romance in any of the X-Men films. I will say, like, this is I love the Vanessa in Wilson relationship, and that's why I took down Deadpool 2 off my fifth to seventh because of that. I think that Deadpool had probably one of the best romance stories ever. I like that Vanessa is a very proactive character and all that.
Yeah, only
Yeah,
only to be fridged in.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. I've kind of I felt awkward when I did my top 10 on my first channel, and I put Deadpool 2 as five, and then I was like, should I put that in number five just because of the fridge thing? And it's like, oh, it just I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Deadpool 2 is still coming up on my list, so
Oh yeah, where is the other Deadpool films? Oh my god. Um, yeah.
they're very high.
Oh wow. Okay, so
I
uh,
really love Deadpool. Um,
mhm, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think Ryan Reynolds he's such a perfect casting for Deadpool.
yeah. I think without him, the movies are not nearly as good. Like
Yes.
he embodies the character,
Oh my god.
and really cares about the character. And with Deadpool, like it's so easy to like do it the wrong way, you know? Like
Yes. Yep.
he could be like too edgy or too like
Cynical. I
cynical or random. It like you really have to know the character to like nail the humor.
Yeah.
And I think Ryan Reynolds gets that. So it's not like there's a lot of like Deadpool content that's like too much, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
But the movie does a good job of like balancing everything.
Yeah. And it handles like very well of like the breaking the fourth wall
Hmm.
because that's always a problem
Yeah,
with comedy is like they go too far with the
yeah,
meta jokes, and I feel
yeah.
like like Ryan Reynolds Deadpool just has that perfect middle ground of it, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say the writers that are for these first two and Tim Miller did a really good job of just just making a very cohesive film with Deadpool and like just being like particularly with the scenes and how they're putting in the story like we never get that sometimes with the superhero films, and like
Hmm.
that's one of the great things about Deadpool. It just hits it that way, um hits that mark very well. So but yeah. Okay. Because I want to say that because I know you got a lot to say about Deadpool films. Okay, so let's get into number four. Do you want me to go? Because
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so I mentioned X2. X2 is my number four. Um what yeah, what's gonna say? What what else I can say for X2? It's one of the best superhero sequels. I think it does everything right. Uh, it improves. It's one of those rare sequels that improves the first film
Hmm.
and makes it better. I think it expands upon the themes and characters more in this film than the first film. It gives you more action and just the drama, and just give you everything what a sequel should do. And that's one of the great things about X2. I think the big highlight for this film is Hugh Jackman. I think this film really gives Hugh Jackman a lot of to do, and he's great in this film. I mean,
Hmm.
the Wolverine stuff is great here, and it's just kind of sad that my or our number nine Origins Wolverine just failed to like be consistent and stay in continuity with this film and all that. So, but it doesn't distract X2 for me as number four.
Hmm.
The reason it's not high on my list, let me say, is that I think there's certain characters that should have been more of a focus. I feel like Professor X and Cyclops should have more development. as characters. You
Hmm.
know, uh, like I don't know, like Xavier, I could get they were like it's kind of tough because he's so powerful, and but and of course he was used as a plot device. Like he's the main reason for the villain's plot, so that's okay, I guess. But the Cyclops thing is just I don't know why they can give James Morrison more to do in this film. Um,
Yeah, I know.
yeah. Yeah. So and yeah, everything about this is just great. The action scenes are way better than the first film. Like, honestly, we've been, you know, beat it to death with the White House opening scene with Nightcrawler, but there's
Hmm.
other great scenes like um, the tornado scene with
Hmm.
the two fire jets. That's like really great. I love that, and it shows Storm's powers like very well. And then I like the Prio and like and his attack on the police with the fire blast. That's great. And then of course the Deathstrike versus Wolverine fight is so much better than the Saber-Tooth one in the first film. Like it's
Hmm.
just so well edited and choreographed. It's just awesome. So yeah. Yeah, overall great sequel. Any more to add to this film, Will? Um,
No, I think covered it before.
yes. In our number five. Okay, so let's get into your number five. I'm kind of curious about this. What's your number five?
Number four, right?
Oh, number four. Sorry, number four. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Um, my number four was X-Men First Class.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I love this movie. It's my favorite of like the X-Men proper movies.
Mm,
And we discussed it at length before, but yeah, I thought it was a great like origin story for the team. I love all the outfits, the uses of the of everyone's powers
yes.
is good. Uh, Xavier and uh, Magneto's like relationship is very well done.
Yes.
Uh, Great performances from Fassbender and McAvoy.
Mm, yeah, they're amazing. What they're my definitive versions of Magneto and Professor X.
Mm,
So yeah, they're amazing.
yeah, they're great. Um, the Cold War setting was really interesting. Just
Yes.
like everything about the movie is great, and I wish that they'd uh, done more to capitalize on it.
Yes. I wish like I really wanted the 70s like the opening scene of like Neo killing or like supposedly killing JFK and
Hmm.
like what Vaughn was trying to when he was still attached for the sequel,
Yeah,
and more Brotherhood of Mutants
yeah. There's so much missed opportunity in the prequel movies. Oh man, I really just wanted First Class too, and instead we got
yeah.
Days of Future Past.
Yep. I can't help you there.
Yeah.
It happened. Um, yeah. I'm kind of curious what they could have done with the sequel because, like, I mean, expand more on the teams. Like who's going to be the main villain? Like,
I think you keep it Magneto.
okay,
Like I think the Charles and Magneto relationship is easily the most interesting thing there,
hmm
right? So you got to keep that conflict going.
right,
Yeah, because they have very similar goals in that they want um, mutants to feel empowered, um, but their like methods for getting that are so different, and that tension is way more compelling than like any other villain you're gonna get.
that's true.
Um,
Well, I mean, I I think you couldn't have done the X2 thing where we like follow like a pattern where the second film, like Magneto will team up with the X-Men because of a threat that's gonna pose to mutant stuff. Like I
Yeah.
think the sequel could have done Mr. Sinister, and
Okay.
like
Yeah.
because like you could have done that, and like you can foreshadow Trask. Like he couldn't like Trask couldn't work with Exit, and then we couldn't set up easily Days of Future Past as the third film. Um, if not, like you could have done something where like the reason that Magneto what did went to prison is because of Emma Frost. Like we could have done like another story with the Hellfire Club again, and
Hmm.
like we continued them as villains, but instead of because Shaw died in this film, Emma Frost takes over, and like we couldn't have done more development with that character,
Hmm.
and then that's why Magneto wants to team up with Professor X. It's like he wants to take wants revenge against Emma for putting him in jail and disbanding the Brotherhood of Mutants.
Hmm.
Like that could have been a good sequel. So you know but yeah, we didn't get that.
Yeah.
So all right. Uh, okay. So want to move to number three?
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned First Class. This is my number three, First Class.
Okay.
So yes, I think it's my third favorite X-Men film. It's one of my personal favorite alternate like time period superhero films after Wonder Woman and Days of Future Past.
Hmm.
And I think I agree with you. The use of the Cold War was really great. It's something we never really like like it's there with the Xavier and Magneto relationship in the original trilogy, but we never use it as the backdrop of the themes of the X-Men. And I really
Hmm.
like that because especially because the common thread is always the civil rights movement, and I like that we didn't went there, and so I like
Hmm.
that way. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I dug that we did the Cuban Missile Crisis as the finale. I love that.
Yeah. It
It's
was great.
it's oh my god, it's really great, and I really dug Kevin Bacon as Sebastian Shaw. I think he's
Hmm.
one of my like second or like he's like my third favorite villain after Shadow King and Mister Sinister as my favorite X-Men villains. Um, I think he like Kevin Bacon is great. I love this character. I think he really brings this film to life and like brings those themes just connected very well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and this film is it's like a Magneto film. It's one of the best Magneto centric plots, and I really dug that. I love Fassbender in this film, and
Hmm.
the thing we have to mention is the music. I mean the oh my god, the Magneto theme. It's one of the best superhero villain theme I ever heard, and it's like so iconic.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, you mentioned the costumes. I mean, the one costume I wish would continue was the Magneto helmet. You know, um, oh my god, I never the day like because you got the MCU that they were adapting the costumes well, but seeing Magneto's helmet from the comics, with the horns, it was like a geeky thing for me. I was like, oh my god. And then, of course, Days of Future Past changed it, and then it's like, it's just, I was so sad we didn't carry that over. But anyway, yeah, I mean, every performance was really great. I mean, I love McAvoy. He was really great, but he doesn't get the material that he's gonna get in the sequel, which that's why I love that film the most because I really connected to what Xavier was dealing with and like just in a personal level. Um, I like Jennifer Lawrence in this film. I think the Mystique is good in this film. Obviously, I want to kind of talk about the continuity of these films.
Hmm.
What's your opinion on the continuity? I mean, do you like take it and leave it, or like does it bother you about the continuity and their like just inconsistent of
I
just
don't know. I don't know if it bothers me, but
okay.
it, yeah.
I
Um, I don't think they were like trying to make it as cohesive as like the MCU, so
okay.
it's fine. Uh, I think I'd prefer it if it was better, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Um yeah. Yeah, I'm same here. My problem is they need to like my problem is they make a big deal of continuity, but then at the same time they want to change it or like it's not what came before it. Like it's weird. Like they're trying to make it a big deal out of it, but then it's not really consistent. Like like the Mystique thing is a good example of that. Like in Dark Phoenix, like she makes a big deal with Beast, like, oh, we're like the first class, like we're the last members of the first class, and like in their relationship and of from the 60s and onwards, right?
Mhm.
And it's like unlike the MCU, right? They like the MCU take care of the relationship and like the characters, friends, and like relationship of people as like the important thing in the film. Where the X-Men films are more plot driven and like they don't do character interactions and relationship like continuity that the MCU does, right?
Mhm.
And that's where they fall. Like that's where the X-Men fails at that. It's like I don't care about the whole Beast and Mystique relationship because like you didn't have the time to really explore that in any of the sequels, you know, besides First Class. And so like why should I care? Why you want to bring that back, you know? And I kind of question it, also the relationship because like why Beast you like her, like she's like such a bad influence person and like she sabotages you and like I don't know, I never understand that relationship. It's always weird.
Mhm.
um and it was weird, making her a sister of Professor X, and that what are you gonna do with that,
Mhm.
so okay, let's anything else to mention in First Class? um
No, I guess we can plug the first class discussion.
yes. If you want to hear us talk more about First Class, we do have a full length podcast discussion on this film, folks. It's in the channel. It's actually Will is our second highest view of this channel. So
Oh, all right.
yeah. Oh, here I have it here. It's at 21K reviews. Um, that's how I say it. Uh,
Huh.
yeah, it's crazy. And the number one is the Iron Man 2 discussion we did last year, 2 years ago,
Hmm.
and I transferred it into this
2
channel.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's at 39K. And then a little brief discussion here. The third highest one is our Spider-Man No Way Home. Um,
Mm.
yeah, that's 11K. I split the podcast up, but you can get all that together if you want to. And then I did a X-Men podcast, the first film with Tommy 2 years ago, and I
Hmm.
transferred that, and that's fourth. Our top 10 Marvel movies is getting up very fast. So right now is 641 reviews. So
Mm.
yeah, so this channel is growing very well. So it's really awesome. So yeah, the X-Men are really the best in this channel. But yeah, so just a quick plug for that. So you can see that right there in the popular uploads. Click that and listen our full discussion on X-Men First Class for its 10th anniversary last year. And just kind of wrap things up. I really like Matthew Vaughn as a director. Um, I think he really had a strong vision for these characters. He really gets the X-Men. Um, he brings like this flavor of just embracing the comic book, but at the same time, changing it, but respecting the material more than some directors do. Like I think he's one of the best directors that the X-Men had, and I wish he came back to direct one. Um, but at least I was happy he was at least involved with Days of Future Past, and you can see the results of the X-Men Apocalypse when he was not there. So believe it from there. Okay, so what's your number three, Will?
My number three was Deadpool 2.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. I really like, I don't know, I like comedies.
Yeah, you do. I mean, especially One Division and
Yeah, Deadpool really works for me, especially with like how well they've pulled it off with Ryan Reynolds.
yes.
Um, so yeah, Deadpool 2, while I don't think it's as good as the first one, it's still really high because it's
Hmm.
just like a lot of fun to be in the movie theater watching a Deadpool movie, you know.
Yes. Oh my
Um,
God.
and
Oh,
I love all of the supporting characters,
mhm.
especially in the second one.
Oh yes. Oh my God.
Because
Oh,
I love all the villains. Like I think I like the villains more in Deadpool 2 than Ajax in the first one.
oh really?
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Um um that's why I put the first film up high, is because
mhm.
I think Ajax was a better villain. Because I this is good that you mentioned Deadpool 2 as your high three, because I did you think we have a villain for Deadpool 2? Because like
I would say that the Kid and Juggernaut were the villains.
okay,
Um, Juggernaut was really there just to be like muscle,
muscle. Yeah.
um, but the Kid was the like antagonist. I wouldn't call him a villain, but I think it's a really interesting conflict. Um, and I thought the character was more interesting than Ajax.
Hmm. No, no. No, no, I get it. I totally get it, Will. Yeah, there's things like he's very typical, like, supervillain with military
Yeah,
connections and all that. Yeah. Um,
he's pretty standard, but
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, with Iron Fist, Fire Fist, right? I
yeah,
guess the thing that I like about it is it's really like it's cool because he's a villain from the future that we need to prevent, right? But in the present day, he's just a kid who's been abused as a mutant, and like it's very real topic, because that happens with kids. They do have abusive house, or like orphanage. It's a
mhm,
topic we don't discuss, and I think Deadpool 2 handles that very well. Um, and I like how Deadpool is trying to help the kid, and like like doing like the thing he wants. He wanted kids with Vanessa, and I think it all connects what the themes and stuff that Deadpool 2 is trying to do. Where Ajax is not like he's not really connected to the themes and all that in the first Deadpool film. As well.
mhm.
So I totally get that. Okay. Well, I want to mention, I didn't mention this in my Deadpool 2 and 7. I love the X Force. Um,
Oh
I,
yes, yeah,
we- and,
absolutely.
and Pier, I think that was my favorite part about the film, is those, oh my God.
Yeah, or Brad Pitt, like,
Yes. Oh my God, Brad, like we need to discuss about that, because that was one of the most
oh
funniest like death cameos. Like it was, oh my God. I, I was just like, and then the Matt Damon one, like
Mhm,
oh my God, it's just crazy. And killing off all the X Force was so funny.
yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. One of the best just comedy gold and in a comedy film ever. Oh my God. Anything else for Deadpool 2? Um, um,
Uh, I mean, some of the action sequences are really cool. Like I
mhm.
the one where Deadpool's fighting Cable on the truck.
Yes,
I
I do
love
like
that. And
that one.
there's a great gag where Cable's shooting at Deadpool and Deadpool's like swinging his sword around like he's
Yes,
deflecting the bullets and then he stops and he starts bleeding everywhere. It's so good.
yes. Oh my God.
Um,
Oh, and you and then he say, go ahead, One Eye Willie. Great callback for the Goonies, which Josh Brolin
yep,
was in.
yep.
Oh my God, just oh my God, great one. And of course he say, sip it, Thanos, or
hmm Yeah.
oh yeah. Oh my God, yeah. And we need to talk about like his death scene. That was like the Logan, like
hmm
oh my God, that was my favorite moment. Like they were playing the actual music from Logan,
Yeah.
from the final, and then but it's like this comedic long take of him, like is he dying or not, and like he's saying goodbye to his friends, and when he get to Cable, like look, don't judge a person uh, by his color. That killed me. I was like, oh my God, he's doing the racial thing again. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I want to watch the Deadpool movies again.
Oh yes. Oh my God. I need to see the first two. They're amazing. I love their jokes. They're
Mhm.
they're funny. Oh my God. Um.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to say, just like First Class, they have the best X-Men costumes. Like I don't know if you agreed or not, but like
hmm
they're very accurate. But like
Yeah, they're great.
yeah, it's just oh my God, amazing. Oh my God, great, great. Okay. Want to get into number two?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So, okay, do you go first? Because I went
Okay.
already. Go.
Yeah, that sounds good. First, or I guess my number two is the first Deadpool.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense. I mean,
yeah.
it's yeah.
I mean, we talked about it already, but I think it's just like more cohesive as a movie, so I put
Yes.
it higher. Um, and
Mhm.
the jokes land a little better for me. They feel like they'll age better. Um,
Yes.
I feel like the second one relied too much on like topical jokes or
Yeah.
like references to other movies that you might not get like 10 years from now.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and I'm sorry to interrupt.
mhm,
I want to mention something. That's another criticism I have for Deadpool 2. The reason it's not high in my list, they call back jokes from the first film.
mhm,
If you didn't catch that, and then that's where it's very weak. It's like some of the jokes they repeat is from the first film, and I don't like that.
mhm.
And that's where I don't like as much of the Deadpool 2 over the first one, where the first one is just organically funny.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I just wanted to make that statement because that was something I kind of forgot when we were discussing Deadpool 2. And I guess we do have to discuss like the importance of the first Deadpool film. Like without this film, I don't think you're gonna get Logan or any of the recent successful Ray films, or some of the new like raunchy or like edgy superhero shows that we have right now, like The Boys or previously Preacher or like like Joker.
Mhm.
Like without this film, we couldn't get the renaissance of the rated R superhero films because we had that before, but like it wasn't like I mean they were successful, but like it wasn't like highly successful like how
Right. Yeah.
these Deadpool films did, or even Joker did. I mean, like it's crazy, Like Joker was the first rated R film to cross a billion mark without the Chinese release date, and the only time that movie did that was I mentioned Spider-Man No Way Home this year
Mhm.
or last year. Um,
Mhm.
it's crazy. It's just and it's good that you put it as number two because Deadpool is such an important film um, uh, to that we really needed because like I want to see more of these like rated R, superhero films, for these characters. Um, yeah, and I kind of wish that Venom was like this,
Mhm.
like I mean, lucky for you, like I'm like, why could you just make these rated R films? But whatever. I don't want to talk about Venom. I'm done with them. Anyway, anything else for Deadpool, the first film?
We've already talked about it, but yeah, I think it's hilarious, and it's like right up my alley. So, um, yeah, you
That's,
can feel the passion behind it,
yes.
um, and it uh, successfully avoids all of the like bad stuff about Deadpool,
Mm,
which I remember being worried about before it came out. But
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Did you see the test footage? I
hmm
um like it was kind of like in the same vein as that when
hmm
before we got the full film.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of curious. Um, yeah, another thing, test footage helped get this film off the ground, so
hmm
that's good. Yeah. All right. So can we go to my number two? I guess. If we have anything else to discuss for the first Deadpool film, are we good? Uh,
I'm good.
okay. Number two is another radar film in this films. Of course, is Logan. It's
Yep,
my number two.
it's my number one.
Okay. Yeah. So this is following like what came in the top 10 Marvel films. So Logan and X-Men are like my top favorite films.
Yeah,
Um,
I forgot that Logan existed when we were doing the top 10 Marvel films, so it wasn't in
yeah,
my list, but
yeah,
it should have been.
yes. Well, I had it. Yes, I had it in.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh man, I forgot. I think I forgot the Deadpool movies too when we were doing that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I actually when I was working on it, I actually made a list on your top 10, and I listed.
Mm,
So we had the first Deadpool movie and Logan as number seven. So
okay,
yes, so we had them there, and then
okay,
and we had X2 in our list. You had
yeah,
X2 higher as
yeah.
six.
I did recognize as I was writing my list out for this that it was very different from
Yeah.
what I had
Um.
previously. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think the reason Deadpool is ranking so highly right now is because I've been watching Peacemaker and I'm like
Oh,
really in the mood. It's great. I love it. But I'm like really in the mood for the like raunchy R-rated superhero thing.
yeah. And the Suicide Squad. I love that. That's my
Oh, that was
second
my
favorite.
favorite movie of
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah. 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 Oh my God. One of the best. One of the best superhero radar films since Deadpool and Joker in my opinion, but
Like,
just
are
different.
there other R-rated
Um,
movies since Deadpool and Joker? Like R-rated
yeah.
superhero movies?
Well, I mean, you got Blade and Blade 2, you got The
But
Crow
it's
and
not since. It's
oh
alright. It's alright.
yeah, well, Kick Ass, I mean, if we want to include Kick Ass, I mean, they're
Yeah.
good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I there's like other superhero comedies. They're not like radar, but they're like PG-13, and I
Mhm.
I think they're good. Super. I don't know if we have
Yeah,
to.
I've seen Super.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love James Gunn.
Yeah. I
Uh,
I he's
Suicide Squad was just like James Gunn unfiltered. It was
yes,
perfect.
yes, and he made one of the most stupid Batman characters to my one of my favorite ones. Um, Polka Dot Man. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Polka Dot Man.
Yes. Oh my god, and maybe like Ratcatcher too. I oh god,
Yeah,
just anyway,
that whole movie was great. But
yeah, it's
yeah,
great. Yeah, let's let's get back
yeah.
to Logan.
Back to X-Men.
Yeah, yes, yes. Sorry, folks. But yeah, I mean, without Deadpool, without Logan, we couldn't get the more gritty, dark, serious, radar films. We mentioned Joker.
Mhm.
Um, I this film you mentioned. how passionate that the people were in this film making this
Hmm.
film. This was the same for Logan, and
Yeah.
and uh, I mean, I didn't like the trailers were good. They were using the John Hurt or Johnny Cash. I'm sorry, Johnny
Oh
Cash
yeah.
Hurt. I was like, okay, I kind of get where you're going, but it's like a dark, greedy Western, superhero film, and was expecting the high level of quality that I was going to get this film. Like it was just it was like Unforgiven meets freaking I mean Requiem for a Dream. If it and going that dark,
Mhm.
oh my god, James Mangold just like topped himself, and, and like he did like this film had similar themes and like tropes that he did with the Wolverine. Like, like Logan has to protect a girl, instead of, a woman adult, he had to protect a child. And like he fixed a lot of things that I like about the Wolverine, but maybe didn't meet you or everyone's expectation. Here, he really delivered that. And like
Mhm.
it worked so much better because it was much more smaller than the Wolverine or like in this third act. Like it
Mhm.
was much smaller, intimate, personal. It it didn't it didn't had to rely on universe building or continuity. It was just a self-contained film, just telling a story, and that's one of the best things about Logan. I like that's the reason I like Deadpool. Is because of that. It's
Mhm.
self-contained.
Yeah.
Um, Uh, I mean, oh my God, Hugh Jackman. He's one of the best actors today, and he's like the Christopher Reeve of our generation. Like he loved Wolverine. He cared about this character. Like he's the reason that X-Men 3 and Origins are here is because of him. Like he didn't phone in the performance. Like I don't like to dog Jennifer Lawrence, but like she's a great actress, and I don't have this hate train like everyone has on her with
Mhm.
Mystique role. But like I, I, she is phony in her performance in those
Yeah.
films, and
Yeah.
where unlike,
Especially the later ones.
oh yeah, and I cannot blame her. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
you
They're
know,
not good movies.
exactly.
They're kind of
I
beneath her at that
Yeah,
point. But
yeah. Oh my god. I mean, it was funny to see her death in Dark Phoenix. It was so hilarious. And then it was funny Nicholas Holt like trying to argue with it first says like and he slams the was it the vodka and it's like, oh my god, you're being over dramatic here.
mhm.
Anyway. um oh my god, Hugh Jackman, I one of the best superhero performances in history, and I just wish he got an acting nomination. I think this was, you know, best Oscar nomination, and same thing with Patrick Stewart. His performance as Professor X, as the older Professor X, is amazing in this film.
Yeah.
Oh my god, and Daphne Keane as X-23, one of the best characters to be introduced, and like it was straight out of the animation show from Revolution, but changed a little bit to fit in this film, and like it just works well.
Mhm.
um what's your thoughts on Logan? I know this is number one, but like,
Yeah. Um, I mean, it's just the perfect send off to Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and just the X-Men franchise in general.
yes.
Yeah, just like a really personal story about Logan. It just worked so well. The execution was flawless. Um, yeah, it really changed my like perspective of like what a superhero movie could be. You
Yes,
know, like because
I
it's not
agree.
just like a popcorn flick. There's like it's like a really in-depth like character piece. Um,
Oh my god, yeah.
and I want more films like this.
Yeah, I do. um I just want like variety. That's like,
Mhm.
I think
Yeah,
my main
like
my main
they don't. they don't all need to be these like serious
Yeah.
character studies, but I
Yes.
love having it, and I
Yeah.
wish we got more of them.
Yeah. Which we really are. I like that we're being very creative. I think, like,
Hmm.
I think now that we're like past, like, I think because so many, like, the consumers like are thinking it's going to be the Western, which I disagree because there's a difference between Western. Western is one specific genre, and like you're in one
Right.
setting and stuff like that. Where the superhero thing is different. It's like
Yeah,
every
you can have a variety of
yeah,
stories within superhero settings. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I think there's still a danger of like telling too many stories that are similar to each other. Um,
yeah. Well,
but yeah,
um,
but I think they
yeah.
are learning to spice it up.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it, like, this is where I want to thank the MCU, is that we're using obscure characters to do that.
That
Like,
helps a lot too. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
DC's doing that too with
Yes,
like
exactly.
Peacemaker, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's my concern with the mainstream characters we have. Well, like, Batman, Spider-Man, and Superman, and but even those characters are getting more creative with that. Like Spider-Man. I mean, like he has like three reboots. And
Hmm.
we have variety with those like specific actors and animation film that we love. Like I was expecting that.
Hmm.
When we did our top 10 Marvel movies, like I wasn't expecting a Spider-Man, you know, theatrical, animation movie to be my number one personal Spider-Man film or high in my Marvel movie list.
Hmm.
Just, a lot of things I wasn't expecting. And unfortunately ones that I kind of wish we had successful, like, FF, and, stuff like that. Um, yeah. Ugh. But I guess let's kind of transition to number one for you because this is your number one, Logan. And what other things that like was kind of important for Logan here as just being number one for you? Like
Yeah.
uh,
Um, I mean, I love the relationship between Logan and Xavier.
yes,
Um, it's just so like heartbreaking to
oh,
see these characters that we've known for um like
for a very long
almost
time.
2 decades at
Oh,
the like when this came out,
yeah,
to see them like at the end of their lives um struggling.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Um, it was, oh my god, when he got stabbed. Xavier getting stabbed by the clone Wolverine or
Hmm.
X-24. That's what he's called. Um, I was just shocked and just, oh my god. And then just him telling Logan to protect X-23 and like try to get her. It was like, oh my god, it's just so heartbreaking and,
Hmm.
and just yeah. And I like the relationship between him and X-23. That was very just nice and cute and I love how she learned a little bit of English because Xavier is a telepath and like it's like very cool.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and it was sad to see like the civilian family getting killed. Like it was kind of like the X-Men Origins Wolverine with those two older couple, but it
Hmm.
was done right in Logan. Like
Hmm.
I thought that was really great and just and it has probably one of the best science fiction premise. I think this is another thing. Like it had a really cool sci-fi western. Like
Hmm.
it 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 was believable and like I took it seriously and it was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I like it's one of the best adaptation for a comic book story. Like
Hmm.
that's another thing I want to mention that why I picked the 4 or 5 is the best like adaptation of a X-Men story because one of the things I like about these films over the MCU for me personally, just me, is that they actually adapt the comic book storylines, and like
Mhm.
it's it's loosely based, but like they at least keep enough that is from the comic, and that's why I like about these films more than MCU, because sometimes they do, but then it goes a little too like they do it in their own way, and I'm fine with that. But sometimes I kind of wish they do more, like keep it stuff in there, like but, yeah, stuff like that. Anything else about Logan? So
I think I'm good. I'm ready to hear your number one. I know
yeah,
what it is, but
yeah. Well, I mean, well, everyone. I mean, it's kind of not like it's not shock or surprise. Everyone, it's my number one is X-Men: Days of Future Past.
mhm,
Not to talk too long about this film, but it's one of my personal favorite X-Men film. It's very like it's one of the best X-Men. Like it's one of my I think my number one personal superhero film of all time. I think is number one there, number one Marvel film for me, and number one X-Men film for me
mhm,
because it does everything right. What I think a superhero film should do. It juggles characters, which is good. Number two, it adapts an iconic storyline very well, but it fits in their movie universe or the movie they're doing
mhm,
in a creative way, which I like. That's good. Three, utilize characters we haven't explored yet, but we had a chance to do in this, which I like. That's something I didn't mention previously from the podcast is that I really like that we had a chance to explore Xavier as a character
mhm,
because we mentioned Logan. We had another great one for Xavier, but before Logan, we needed Days of Future Past to do that. Because no, the ritual trilogy, he was kind of there. He was a very mentor figure for the X-Men, right?
mhm,
But we never had a chance to explore Xavier as a character. Um, and I think X-Men Days of Future Past does this so well. And McAvoy, brings a game performance here. I think this is probably a Oscar nomination. I think, and I think and I relate to what Xavier is in. He's like down to his path, like he's very down currently. What was going on during the '70s, and like him downing himself as a individual. Like I relate to that. And I was that in 2014 for me.
mhm,
My grandma was, she unfortunately had a accident in Colombia, and she's now brain damaged and paralyzed. And I had to refigure my career path, a little bit. And this film was very important to me, and it's actually the reason I started my editing career and
mhm,
videographic, whatever you want to call it. I tested out this YouTube thing, and I did the Quicksilver thing, and from this movie, and that was my first huge, K review, whatever you want to call it, and so that set me to my path as this editor. So
mhm,
I'm very grateful what this film did for me and where I should take my path as a person, and so it's very personal for me as this film, and it's it's one of the most like reason I like First Class, and the reason that I put this high is that it continues to. It's only what like 2 hours, just like First Class, but like 1 minute, like a half, right? It
mhm,
crams in all this much stuff full of mutants and characters, and like has this ambitious time travel thing, but it's a hugely cohesive film about a person overcoming his fear and and try to stop a war that is going to be inevitable in the future, and like that's incredible how they handled this,
mhm.
and that's one of the most interesting things about X-Men Days of Future Past. And obviously we're going to get into the problems afterwards, X-Men Apocalypse, and just what happened after this movie is just like I mean it, and this is what Star Trek '09 should have done. Like, but this is what this is better what Star Trek '09 did as terms of like soft rebooting. That's the thing about this movie. It's like it's a great soft rebooting of the X Men films,
Mhm.
but gets pretty much get written off very quickly by the next film. Oh my god, yeah, and oh my god, and this film did have the best, use of mutant powers. Like Blink is great in this film. I love how she used her portals open. Quicksilver, I mentioned Quicksilver, how he's a very important character for me, and he's great in this film. I mean, Evan Peters is amazing in this film. I mean, the tie in the bottle, kitchen scene is the most iconic superhero thing we have recently, and it was great when we did the WandaVision discussion. It was great to see him in the MCU, in the weird way,
Hmm.
but it was great to see him again, and. So yeah, what's your thoughts on X Men: Days of Future Past? I'm been talking a little long with this for me, but I just need to
I
get
mean,
out.
I talked about it before. Um, I'm it's well made, but I'm not a
Yeah,
fan of time travel plots, and I think it kind of spoiled the plot threads of
First Class.
First Class, and kind of prevented that movie and a potential prequel series from really like standing on its own.
That's true. No, no, I agree with you, Will. Um, yeah, I mean, I saw that with X Men Apocalypse, and that's what happened. Um, but
And I will say I definitely, my opinion is not the popular opinion. Like I think most people agree with you on the movie. So
yeah. Well, and I mean, no, I think many people will agree with you on that. I mean, X Men: Days of Future Past is not everyone's high. Uh,
it
X.
was pretty well received when it came out. I
Oh yeah.
remember.
I'm saying like the consumer, like their listing of X Men films.
Mm,
Like it's always like number 5 or 3, where
okay.
everyone's number 1 is like yours is Logan. Logan is number 1.
Yeah. Logan
Um,
and Deadpool.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I personally, for me, why I pick it over Logan as number 1, I should get into that. Is that Logan is a great film, but you have to be in the right mood for it. That's
Hmm.
the reason I enjoy X Men: Days of Future Past. It's just a more crowd pleasing film, and,
Hmm.
and it's it has darker moments, but like it's very optimistic, which Logan has too, but it's more downbeat in a good way.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I do want to discuss a little bit of the problems, or negatives. I do agree with you, Will, that it was disappointing not to have like a good follow up from First Class. Um,
Hmm.
I just wish we had more time with the characters, um, and and flesh out more of the universe of the time period. You know,
Hmm.
um, and yes, I do agree with you about the time travel thing. It should be there from its conceit, like Terminator, and you mentioned Back to the Future. Um, but the reason I put it number 1 is actually kind of impressive how they handled the time travel thing. Um, but at the same time, it does follow the trope of not answering questions, or like the conceit is good enough, but it's kind of questionable. Um, like I don't know why Wolverine has to be the one to go there, besides he's the main star.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, um, yeah, it's great. Is there any what else we had to bring up about Days of Future Past? Like I mean, I wasn't like where you're expecting to have another film with the older cast, because that's something like like
No, yeah, it was nice to see them again.
yeah, like
Um, I think it happened too soon, but
uh happened too soon.
um,
That's
yeah, but it was nice. Um, I mean, obviously the Quicksilver scene is iconic.
yes. Oh my god.
Um,
Maybe
yeah.
maybe be a fan of Jim Cross uh as a singer. I love his songs now.
Hmm.
So yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I guess to like I mean wrap things up to kind of like say like an ode to the X-Men films. Um, because these were the ones that helped the superhero Sandra to live on.
Hmm.
As we mentioned with the first X-Men films and our list, it was very important to because like at the time when the first X-Men film came out, we only had Superman and Batman, as the main superhero franchise we had, and then we
Hmm.
just had like scholarly original or like indie comic book movies, but then they were not highly as successful as Superman and Batman were,
Hmm.
in the 90s there were like just the pulp heroes, Shadow and Phantom and the Rocketeer were the superhero films, but they didn't perform well, which was weird and sad because I think each of them were good, and great, and it was it's just Batman performed well in the 90s until Batman Robin, all that fiasco of
Hmm.
the film, and then of course we have to mention Blade. We discussed Blade in this channel, and like that movie was the right step for Marvel and superhero Sandra, and then X-Men came and it blew the doors. I mean, it didn't blow the doors away as Spider-Man did in
Hmm.
2002. But it helped show that it can be serious, and I think that was the most important thing about this series. Um, and brought us Hugh Jackman. That's a big thing,
Hmm.
just like how the MCU, gave Robert Downey Jr. his career back. This helped Hugh Jackman's career just, to be long lasting as it is now.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, yes, there were problems that this film series has. I mean, I do want to quickly mention this had the worst Me Too movement of ever. You had two worst directors that were horrible people and behind the scenes.
Hmm.
And this had the typical thing we have now, the superhero movie interruption by studios. X-Men 3 and you know um Origins Wolverine had the stereo interference like so many others have, recently with Spider-Man 3 and Suicide Squad and BVS and Justice League, and all the list goes on and on, And so, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it, you know, you know, hit really great films, but at the same time, it was very inconsistent, and we had the worst films. Um, but yeah, what's your opinion overall with the X-Men film series and their like contribution to the superhero film genre in general?
Yeah, I mean, the genre wouldn't be where it was today without them.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, that being said, they're kind of all over the place in terms of quality.
I know.
Like Logan, one of the best superhero movies ever made. But then there's also some of the worst in the later prequel movies.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Crazy. I can't believe my first two were the worst films in this franchise.
Yeah.
That's why I put X-Men First Class high in my list, because it was like my first good X-Men film I saw
Mm.
in theaters, and then I was consistent until Apocalypse, and then I think Logan was my last X-Men film in theaters. What was
Mm.
yours? Uh, or Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2
Yeah,
was
it
my
would be
last.
Deadpool 2.
Yeah, and then I did not see Dark Phoenix or
Yeah,
New
I
Mutants.
just they looked bad.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, I didn't see Apocalypse in theaters either.
you're lucky. I
Yeah,
was,
I have seen Apocalypse since then, but
yeah.
yeah,
No. You're lucky you didn't see it theaters. I did, and
yeah,
I had
I
to
didn't
spend my
pay for it.
money. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to spend my money. Oh my god, it was just such an odd movie experience. Like the first act was okay. I was like, okay, and then when we got to the Aqua, the lake that we see in
Hmm.
X2, and that's where I knew we're not telling a story here. We're just wasting time, and I was just uh being slapped as a consumer.
Hmm.
And then the third act was just like, oh, and they ruined Apocalypse. Like, how can you ruin Apocalypse? He's like the most, like the top
Yeah,
villain in the X-Men universe, and it's like, and you had Oscar Isaac as a actor,
I
and
know
like,
he's so good and
you
just
know,
completely wasted.
I know it just, I can never believe that. It's just so weird. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. And I guess to, like, we mentioned the MCU a couple of times. What do you wish that the MCU should do with the X-Men now? Like, what they need to do to make them different? And then
Man.
everyone's been having this conversation that they should bring maybe some actors back from the roles from the series into the MCU. Do you want that? Well, where do you want the MCU want to do
I
with the X-Men? What's your opinion on that?
I don't want them to bring anyone over.
Okay.
Um, yeah, just because like the franchise was around for 20 years. Um,
Mm,
so some of the actors are going to be like
a lot
older,
older, yeah.
and I want the characters to be able to be around for a while.
That's true.
Um, if you were going to bring anyone over, I guess I would want McAvoy and Fassbender,
Yes, same here.
because they like those characters can age, and that's fine.
Yeah. I
Because they're not necessarily doing. I mean, they were played by Stewart and
McKellen.
yeah, originally. So
Yeah. No, that was my same idea. Like, just bring over the prequel actors, and then just
but I wouldn't want. I would want different actors for like the other characters, like even
yes.
from the prequels, though. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Um,
I
yeah,
mean,
I don't know how I want them to do it. Um, I guess I do want them to do like the school aspect
mhm.
of the X-Men. Um, I'd like more of a focus on X-Men as like civil rights analogy.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, we'll see what they do. I think it's going to be hard to integrate mutants into the MCU, just because it's like a big, in
And
terms of like an established universe, to be like,
yes.
and also there's mutants.
Yeah.
It's going to
Uh,
be complicated. Um,
yeah, I agreed. I I think they should do is maybe keep the X-Men as a separate multiverse Earth.
mm, I don't think
If
they're going to do that though.
yeah, like I mean, I guess in their universe makes sense because I mean we had the Eternals, and like where were they? And they, I mean, they gave like a very logical reason why they didn't interfere, like the
Hmm.
events of the MCU we had, with the Thanos and Snap, and so I can be acceptable to that. If they're going to recast the actors, if they're going to do that, then I think they're in a good position. If they
Hmm.
want to bring the actors back, then they have to put them in their separate multiverse universe. And so, if they want to bring back McAvoy and Fassbender as those roles. So, and then for me, I just want a team focused X-Men. Finally, like, make them
Hmm.
as a team, because that was something that the prequels didn't do. It's like we didn't have an X-Men team in their films. It was just main characters focus in those films, and it was never about the team.
Hmm.
Like, that's the thing that I understand why you like First Class. It's the reason I like First Class. It was, we were trying to attempt to do the team thing, but it got shafted after Days of Future Past came out, and like we were just focusing on Xavier, Magneto, Mystique, and Beast, and it's just, I I mean, I want more like a team focus X-Men in the
Hmm.
MCU. And just in general, just besides being comic accurate, like, have long lasting villains for the X-Men to face and like set them up properly, like Thanos. Like they were trying to do the Mr. Sinister thing in the later half, and then
Mhm.
it just never get paid off properly, because of the Disney buyout. Um, but yeah, so that's the big thing. All right. Well, thank you, Will, for joining me for today for this another spectacular podcast on ranking the X-Men films.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we now know when Moon Knight is coming out. It's coming out March
Yeah,
30th. I don't know if you had a chance to see the trailer. It was
I did.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and so that's great. So we at least have another month to wait. So that's good. That's fine. Or 2 months, I guess, towards the end of March.
Mhm.
Last thing to discuss. Where do you want to go? You want to discuss another 60th anniversary talk for a character, or where do you want to go now?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, Hulk or Spider-Man?
Um, let's do Spider-Man.
Okay, and then should we discuss a movie with it, like the first Spider-Man film or Amazing Spider-Man for his 10th anniversary? What do you think?
Uh, it's up to you. You pick.
Okay, let's do Amazing Spider-Man
Okay.
because it's his 10th anniversary, so it'll be kind of cool to discuss Andrew Garfield
Yeah.
finally. So yeah, so let's do that. Okay, thank you, Will, for joining me today. It was a pleasure discuss
Yeah.
X-Men with you. But anyway, thank you everyone for listening to this podcast. Me will be back for next Sunday, of course.